How's it going, everybody? And welcome to the Pro Football Podcast with your host, Alec Pecano, on Monday, December 16th. Today's show is another mock draft Monday, 2-round mock draft with some surprising picks. Let's get right into it. Boom. Start. So the first pick belongs to the New York Giants. And I have the New York Giants taking Cameron Ward out of Miami. There's been growing speculation that if the Giants have the first pick, he is going to be their pick in the draft. Their first pick in the draft. At number 1. And to me, he does feel like a Brian Daboll kind of quarterback. We're looking in Buffalo. He had Josh Allen. And Josh Allen came out of a small school in Wyoming. Cam Ward did the same thing before going to Washington State and Miami. He was at Incarnate Word. And I believe Cam Ward would be the correct pick for the Giants. At number 2, the Raiders. Now, I've seen various mock drafts where they have the Raiders getting Jalen Milroe in the second round. I think this is where Shedeur Sanders goes off the board to the Raiders. He just feels like an Antonio Pierce kind of quarterback. Gardner Minshew hasn't got the job done. Desmond Ridder hasn't gotten the job done. Aiden O'Connell is a bona fide backup quarterback. Sorry to say that. I had high hopes for him coming into this year. But I feel like Shedeur is the pick here. And we can move on to number 3. The Patriots need offensive tackle. And I have them selecting. Yeah, I have the Patriots selecting offensive lineman Will Campbell from LSU. If you look at the Patriots' PFF grades for their offensive linemen, they are among the bottom of the league in PFF grades for their offensive linemen, which tells me that they need help on the offensive line, and I think Will Campbell is the perfect pick for them. The Jaguars at number 4, they also need offensive line, but I'm going to go cornerback here. Travis Hunter's on the board, and he just feels like somebody he's going to have to choose in the NFL whether he wants to be a wide receiver or a cornerback. And the Jaguars need both. I know they took Brian Thomas in the draft last year, but I'm taking Travis Hunter as a defensive back in this situation if I'm the Jaguars at number 4. So give me Travis Hunter because the Jags, they need help at corner. And I think getting Travis Hunter at number 4 is the perfect pick for the Jags. The Panthers at 5. I really want to go quarterback, but I've liked the strides I've seen from Bryce Young since he's taken over as the starting quarterback for the Panthers. So I'm going to pivot and go to a different position on the offense. It is not wide receiver. I'm going to go offensive line. And there's a couple offensive linemen that I could give Carolina. I could give him Calvin Banks. I could give him Cameron Williams. I could give him Ariante Ursery out of Minnesota. I'm going to go Calvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. They need they need some more young guys on that offensive line. They got Ike Ekwonu, and the rest of their offensive line is a mess. So I think Calvin Banks would be the preferred offensive lineman for them to take here at 5. The Titans at 6. They need, I am not going to say quarterback. I'm going to go wide receiver. And I'm going to go, I'm going to go Luther Burden out of Missouri. Luther Burden, and yes, I'm going to explain. I think Luther Burden's going to be a really good receiver, just like Tataroa McMillan. But I think Luther Burden, for me right now, he's my, after all the film I watched of every single wide receiver, for me, Luther Burden is my number 1 wide receiver. Runs crisp routes, gets open, can take the top off of defense. And Tennessee, the Titans, they need that for a wide receiver. At 7, the Browns. They also need offensive linemen, but I'm going to go a different. I'm going to go a different way with them. I'm going to go defensive. Actually, I'm going to go edge, and I'm going to go Abdul Carter out of Penn State. They need somebody on the other side of Myles Garrett. And let me know if you think this is too high for Abdul Carter, because it says 4. So I believe if he makes it past 4, the Browns at 7 would be the perfect spot for Abdul Carter. At 8, the Jets. Now, I could have them taking the 3rd quarterback off the board for me, but I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to give them a edge, and I'm going to go with my edge number 2. It is Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. Nick Scorton, to me, he just feels like a Jets pick. They have Jermaine Johnson. They have Quinn Williams. They have both the Williams brothers, I believe, unless Leonard's over on the Seahawks. But they need edge rushers so they can pressure the quarterback. And I feel like Nick Scorton is the perfect edge rusher for the Jets. The Bears at number 9. Now, this I'm actually going to go and give the Bears a safety here. And yes, no, it is not Malachi. Yes, it is Malachi Starks out of Georgia. He feels like a Bears pick for me. We don't know who the new head coach is going to be. Maybe it's Thomas Brown. Maybe it's somebody else. But they need to work. And I will be giving them an offensive lineman later in the draft because they do have 2 second-round picks. But I'm going to give them here at number 9. I'm going to give them Malachi Starks. The Saints at 10. They need a quarterback. And I really want to give them one of the 3 quarterbacks that's showing up right now, and Ewers, Aller, or Milroe. But this is where I have my second receiver coming off the board. It is Tataroa McMillan. The Saints need a number 2 receiver behind Chris Olave. And I feel like Tataroa McMillan is the perfect fit for the Saints to be their number 2 wide receiver. The Dolphins at 11. They need offensive line. And they need it bad. I know defensive line is defensive line, linebacker, and wide receiver, and safety are their top needs. But I feel like you look at the safeties available, and none of the safeties available, this would be too early for all of them. You look at the wide receivers. Ibuka, Bond, Trey Harris. This might be a little too early for Ibuka. I like him going later in the first round. So we're going to go defense. We're actually going to go defensive line here. And I'm going to give the Dolphins Derek Harmon out of Oregon. I think Derek Harmon is the pick here. The Dolphins need to get younger along that defensive line. They lost Christian Wilkins in free agency last year. They lost a couple other guys. Zach Sealer's having a good season, but it seems like he's hogging all the sacks, and they can't really get pressure from other guys along that defensive line. So give me Derek Harmon to the Dolphins at 11. The Colts at 12. And I know you see Will Johnson on the board. And you see Will Johnson on the board here at 12. You got Will Johnson, Siobhan Raval Jr., and Benjamin Morrison. This is my next tier of cornerbacks. But with this pick, I'm going to go a little down the board, and I'm going to go a guy that the Colts might fall in love with, and it's Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. He just feels like a Colts a defensive back that would fit with the Colts. Chris Ballard, look at his track history with cornerbacks. And I think Trey Amos, this might be a bit early for Trey Amos, but he is in this next tier with Benjamin Morrison, Siobhan Raval Jr., and Will Johnson. So give me Trey Amos at 12 to the Colts. I know I'm probably going to get slander for it because it's way too early. Bengals at 13. They're probably going to lose T. Higgins to free agency. And this is where I think you see Emeka Egbuka come off the board. Egbuka goes at 13 to the Bengals. Yes, I know they have Andre Yusavas and Jermaine Burton. But Jermaine Burton, to me, he feels like a fourth or fifth receiver in the NFL on the Bengals. Yusavas is still going to be your slot guy next year. Unless they want him to be the number 2, which I highly doubt they do. So I think that, and you got to pay Jamar Chase. So you're going to take a receiver in the first round, and it's going to be Emeka Egbuka. The Cowboys at 14. They could also take running back. They could also take a wide receiver. But they have a second-round pick, so I will be coming back to wide receiver for them. And there's some interesting guys along that offensive line that they could take in the first round. They could take Ariante Ursere out of Minnesota, Cameron Williams out of Texas, and Josh Simons. I think Simons is a late first-round pick due to the injury he had, and same with Cam Williams. I'm going to give them Ariante Ursere out of Minnesota. They need offensive line. Zach Martin's talking about retiring. Connor Williams is talking about retiring, and they're probably going to lose a couple other offensive linemen too. And they need to replenish along the offensive line, and I think by doing so, they take Ariante Ursere in the first round. The 49ers at 15. I think they will take a interior. Ooh. I think they take an interior offensive lineman here, and it is going to be. No. We're going to go edge, and I'm going to give them James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. Pierce Jr. goes one pick later than he should have. The 49ers need help along the defensive line. On the edge, they have Nick Bosa, but is he going to get paid? If he doesn't get paid, James Pierce Jr. could be the replacement for him. And I think the 49ers, I will probably have them take offensive line later in the draft. So give me James Pierce Jr. to the 49ers. And then you've got the Falcons at 16. Linebacker. Ooh. Okay. So, linebacker. What are our CDs? They go like 38. Ugh. I really want to give them a tight end, but they need help on the defensive line. They do need defensive line. So you've got here's my next. These guys are still in tier 1. Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Shemar Stewart. And I think the Falcons, they need help on the defensive line. As you notice, they're bottom of the league in sacks. And you can't get, if you don't get pressure on the quarterback, you can't get sacks. And I think taking Shemar Stewart here at 16 makes the most sense for the Falcons. Cardinals at 17. I am going to have them take Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. The Cardinals are another team. Their young guys are showing up on defense, on the defensive line, but they need to get more consistent pressure on the QB. And how do you do that? Blitz. And Walter Nolan has found his home at Ole Miss, and I think he's the perfect pick here for Arizona. Seahawks at 18. They need offensive tackle. They need linebacker, defensive line. I'm going to have another defensive lineman going off the board. And it is Mason Graham out of Michigan. The Seahawks need offensive line and defensive line. And I'm going to go defensive lineman here, and I'm going to go Mason Graham. They need to get pressure on the quarterback, and they have not been able to do that at a high rate this year, which signals to me that they need to draft more defensive linemen. The Chargers at 19. They need a tight end. And this guy's not really getting first round hype, but I think he should. It is Harold. The Chargers need tight end. They did take a kid named Smart out of, I believe, Georgia last year. And then they signed Will Dissly in the offseason. But I think Will Dissly's only a 1-year deal. And I know, like I just said a minute ago, I know this might be a little bit of a reach, but I think this guy could go middle to end of the first round, maybe early second. Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green. Chargers need a tight end. Harbaugh loves his tight ends. I mean, I could say Colston Loveland, but that's just too much of a hardball pick. So I'm going a little bit outside the box and going Harold Fannin Jr. Tampa Bay at number 20. They need edge, corner, linebacker, safety. I have them going with an edge rusher here. And it was a guy that was Actually, 20. They need corner. And I have the Buccaneers going defensive back out of cornerback out of Notre Dame, Benjamin Morrison at number 20. The Jamel Dean's there. You got Jamel Dean. You've got Zion McCollum. But I think McCollum's more of a slot cornerback or a nickel corner. And you get Benjamin Morrison. He is not going back to Notre Dame. I know they just made the playoff, but I think if they lose at some point in the playoff, he will declare for the draft. And I think he's the fit for the Buccaneers at number 20. The Rams at 21. They need offensive line. And I'm going to make a bold pick here, and I'm going to give them Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. Yes, he is recovering from injury, and I believe he'll be ready by the start of next year. And I think this would be a good pick for the Rams. The Commanders at 22. They need a wide receiver too. And there's a couple. This starts my second tier of wide receivers. Isaiah Bond, Trey Harris, Jalen Royals. I can see them going Isaiah Bond out of Texas. They have Terry McLaurin. They have the De'Ami Brown. Noah Brown's, he's there, but I don't think they're going to re-sign him to a long-term contract. So give me Isaiah Bond to the Commanders at 22. The Broncos are going to take, they need offensive line, they need wide receiver. I might give them a wide receiver in the second round, but here in the first round, I'm going to give them one of Bo Nix's former offensive lineman at Oregon, Josh Connerly Jr. The Broncos, they are going to resign. Garrett Bowles just re-signed, but you can move Garrett Bowles inside the guard and put, I think Josh Connerly, to me, I've watched this tape. He's a natural right or left tackle in the NFL, and you could swing a guy like I just said, Garrett Bowles inside the guard and put Connerly Jr. at tackle. The Ravens at 24. Offensive tackle, defensive line, linebacker. I am actually going to go outside the box here and have them take a wide receiver as well. And it is not the guy that in these next three are. Royals is in that second tier. Elic Iomanner's in that second tier, and so is Xavier Restrepo. But the thing with Iomanner is we don't know. He might enter the portal. He hasn't declared for the draft yet. But if he does, I feel like the Ravens, they're not going to. Linebacker. What do we got left at linebacker? Jihad Carter. Oh, actually, this feels like a Ravens pick here. Jalen Walker to the Ravens at number 24. They need help with the linebacking core. And I could see Jalen Walker being the pick here. The Texans at 25. They need defensive line, offensive tackle, corner. And Todd Barron. This, I believe, is where Siobhan Revell Jr. comes off the board. And Revell is I've watched his tape. He's a perimeter corner with speed and length. And he was really good before he got hurt this year at East Carolina and tore his ACL. And the Texans, they need help. They've got Derek Stingley. I think Stingley and Revell could be a good combo. The Steelers at number 26. They need wide receiver, running back, corner, wide receiver, running back, corner, offensive tackle. I think so. First of all, I think they're going to address offensive line, whether it be interior or offensive tackle, in free agency. So that gets knocked off the board. Cornerback, they might address in free agency. So it's down to running back and wide receiver because Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren are both going to possibly be free agents. And you see Ashton Jeanty on the board. I'm actually going to go corner because I don't think they address it enough in free agency. And you still have Will Johnson sitting out here on the board at number. He was supposed to go 7th, and he's made it all the way to 26th. He falls right into the Steelers' lap. You give me Will Johnson to the Steelers. He just feels like a Steelers cornerback. The Packers at 27. What do we got left? Kenneth Grant. Oh, that's an easy pick there. Kenneth Grant was supposed to go at 19. He's still on the board at 27. The Packers need help on the defensive line. Give me Kenneth Grant to the Packers at 27. They need to get younger along the defensive line, and I think Kenneth Grant is the key to that for the Packers. The Vikings at 28. Corner, offensive tackle, interior. I'm going to have another corner go off the board here. And it's going to be, yes, I know I watched film on this guy a lot. Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky. And the Vikings need help in the secondary. Kyrie Jackson was supposed to be a cornerback 2 or 3 for them before he tragically passed away. Rest in peace, Kyrie Jackson. So I'm going to give them Maxwell Harrison. He just feels like a Brian Flores clone at a Brian Flores kind of cornerback. So Maxwell Harrison at 28 goes to the Vikings. The Bills at 29. I have them dipping into the wide receiver pool, and this might be a little bit of a reach. I like them going and drafting Alec Iomanor out of Stanford. Josh Allen needs wide receivers because Amari Cooper's going to be a free agent. Keon Coleman's going into his second year. Khalil Shakir's there. And I don't mind Khalil Shakir being the number 2, but he's not a number 1. And Keon Coleman's certainly not a number 1 yet. So I think Alec Iomanor would be the perfect pick. The Eagles at 29 need edge. And I don't know how this keeps happening. Michael Williams falls right into the Eagles' lap at number 30. They need help on the edge because Brandon Graham's probably gone. Fletcher Cox is probably gone. Either one or both of them is probably going to retire. So you need somebody to replace them on the defensive line to blitz the quarterback, and that is going to be Michael Williams. The Lions at 31. Edge, offensive tackle, wide receiver. I'm also going to give them an edge. It is going to be Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. Yes, this is 3 picks earlier than he's supposed to go, but I think the Lions could use somebody on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson to blitz the quarterback, and that would be Landon Jackson. The Chiefs at 32. I'm going to give them a guy like Cameron Williams on the offensive line because they need offensive line to protect Patrick Mahomes. So the Giants at 33. I gave them Cam Ward in the first round. So we got, and now I'm going to give them a pass catcher because I think they will address that offensive line in the offseason. And I'm going to pair Xavier Restrepo back with his college quarterback at Miami, from Miami. And I'm going to give Cam Ward his favorite weapon from Miami, Xavier Restrepo. The Giants, they have Malik Nabers and Wan'Dale Robinson. That's good. But you need a guy that could be in the slot. And I think Wan'Dale Robinson's more of an outside receiver. Darius Slayton's going to be gone. He's going to be a free agent. So give me Xavier Restrepo to the Giants at 33. The Raiders at 34. I gave them Shedeur Sanders in the first round at number 2. Now I'm going to do the same thing for them. And I'm going to give them a wide receiver because Jacoby Myers, let's just face it, he's okay. Trey Tucker's, I guess, good. So I'm going to give him Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. They need that prototypical. I don't know who the new offense coordinator is going to be. But give me Trey Harris to the Raiders. He just feels like a Raiders receiver. Trey Harris to the Raiders at 34. The Jags at 35. I gave them Travis Hunter as a defensive back in the first round. Now I'm going to address the defensive line. And I'm going to give them Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State, who could have gone to the Chiefs at the end of the first round. But I think he's a better fit in Jacksonville because they're going to have a new coaching staff, new everything. And I know Tyleik Williams is kind of a developmental project, but I think if you get the right coaching staff at Jacksonville and you draft Tyleik Williams, he could be a good fit in Jacksonville. The Bears at number 36. I gave them a safety in the first round, and Malachi Starks. Now, we are going to give them a wide receiver, and it'll be Utah State's Jalen Royals. They're losing Keenan Allen. DJ Moore re-signed. Rome Odunze is going to be going into his second season as a wide receiver in the NFL. And I think your number 1 is going to be DJ Moore. Number 2 is going to be Odunze. So you need somebody in the slot. And Jalen Royals just feels like a pick that Caleb Williams would like because he's a wide receiver. 37 to Titans. I gave him Luther Burden in the first round. This is where I'm going to take a quarterback. And if he goes to the NFL, actually, I'm going to stick with Will Levis for one more year. And I'm going to give the Titans an offensive lineman here. I'm going to go Emory Jones Jr. He could play either tackle or guard in the NFL for me. But to me, in my opinion, he profiles more as a tackle he profiles more as a guard because the Titans already have 2 good tackles, and Skoronski and the kid they took last year. So give me Emory Jones Jr. to the Titans at number 37. The Browns at 38. I gave them an edge in the first round. I am now going to give them a... Ooh. I'm not giving them... I'm going a little bit off the board here. I'm going to give them linebacker Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. That is one of their needs is a linebacker. And I believe Jahad Campbell is going to fit on that Jim Schwartz defense in Cleveland. The Patriots at number 39. I have them taking a wide receiver. They took Jalen Polk in the second round last year, and he's been iffy. Or, I'm going to double up on offensive linemen for the Patriots. I'm going to give them Wyatt Millam out of West Virginia. The Patriots need to take as many offensive linemen in this draft as they can. The wide receiver area in the draft is deep. Offensive line is not as deep. I think the Patriots take Wyatt Millam here because, like I said in the first round, if you go back and you look at when I had the Patriots, I said their PFF grades for their offensive linemen were horrendous. And this is a way you fix that by taking 2 offensive linemen in the draft in the first 2 rounds. The Jets at number 40. I gave them a defensive line. I gave them an edge rusher in the first round. Now, we don't know who their quarterback's going to be. Could it still be Aaron Rodgers in 2025? Yes. Is that likely? Maybe. Whoever the quarterback is, they're going to need offensive line. And this is where I have my first interior offensive lineman coming out the board. And it is Jonah Savali. It is Jonah Salavina out of Arizona. The Jets, they need help along the offensive line. Olaf Fashanu is good. And that's all I can say. The rest of the offensive line is a mess. You've got an aging Orlando Brown who's been... Oh, no, not Tyron Smith. An aging Tyron Smith. And I could go Burker here, but I'm going to go Jonah out of Arizona. So the Bears are back up at 41. I've given them a safety and a wide receiver. I am now going to give them an offensive lineman. I'm going to give them Armad. Yeah, no, that's too early. I'm going to give them Tyler Booker, interior offensive lineman out of Alabama. I got rightfully slandered in the comments last week when I did this, and I put Tyler Booker in the first round. I think this might be a more logical spot for Tyler Booker to go. Is in the second or third round, maybe the fourth. And so give me Tyler Booker to the Bears at number 41. They need help on the offensive line. And Booker profiles as a guard. And they need guards because they got Darnell Wright. And why can't I think of the other kid? They got Darnell Wright at one tackle. And they've got... I don't remember who the offensive lineman they took last year was. I think it was Darnell Wright. But whoever's on the other side, they need guards. And Tyler Booker profiles as a guard to me. 42, the Saints. We gave them a wide receiver in the first round and Tedoroa McMillan. Now, we're going to look at linebacker. And, I mean... This is a bit early for a guy like Harold Perkins. Danny Stutzman, I don't think this is a reach. He feels like a Saints linebacker to me. You look at Demario Davis. You look at Cam Jordan, who's on the edge. They need to get younger there. And I think Danny Stutzman is the perfect pick for the Saints. The Colts at 43. I gave them a corner in the first round. Now we're going to go defensive lineman. I'm going to give them Deon Walker. Deon Walker out of Kentucky. I mean, you could go Armar Omar Newman Lott out of Tennessee, but he's more your run stuffer. Same with TJ Sanders and Shamar Turner from the tape I've watched on them. So give me Dion. And Dion Walker just feels like the right pick here for the Colts. The Bengals at 44. I gave them an edge. I gave them wide receiver in the first round. Now we need to work on the offensive line. And I'm going to give them Marcus Boa out of Purdue. They need help along the offensive line. Like, how many times Joe Burrow's been sacked this year? And I'm sorry, but I think they need help on the offensive line. The Cowboys. I also gave them an offensive lineman in the first round. Now, we are going to go edge rusher for them. And I'm going to give them a guy that I was quite surprised by his tape, and that is Mike Green out of Marshall. He's getting some big hype for the second. He might sneak into the end of the first round, beginning of the second, but I think right here, the Cowboys need more help along the edge. I mean, Parsons just turned into a machine rushing the quarterback, but they need somebody else that can rush the quarterback, and Mike Green from Marshall can do that. 49ers at 46. They took an edge in the first round of James Pierce Jr. Now I'm going to give them a... Ooh, no, I'm not. I am actually going to give them a safety. This guy should have gone earlier. Nick Emmanuel-Warrior. Nick Emmanuel-Warrior out of South Carolina. The 49ers are not getting any younger at safety, let alone. So therefore, I think they need to take the safety out of South Carolina. I'm just going to call him Nick. South Carolina fans, please let me know how you pronounce his last name. The Dolphins at number 47. They're about to lose Javon Holland. And you see Xavier Watts on the board at 47. If he's still there and he has not been taken yet, I'm going Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame. Falcons at 48. Gave them a defensive lineman in the first round. We're going to go look at linebackers. Yeah, that's it for the linebackers. You got Barrett Carter. This is my next tier. From Perkins down to Chris Paul Jr. out of Ole Miss. This is tier 3 of my linebackers. And I think the first linebacker in this group that's going to go off the board is going to be Harold Perkins. He just feels like a Raheem Morris type of linebacker to me. Rushes the passer, plays the pass good. Thing is, if he comes out, he'll be going in this. I think he might go a little higher than his projected rank, which is 64th. To me, he's one of my top 10 linebackers. So Harold Perkins, welcome to Atlanta. 49, the Cardinals. I'm also going to give them a linebacker. And it is going to be Barrett Carter. Let's see if we get it again. Nope. Of course. Barrett Carter just feels like, and I gave actually, I'm actually going to give the Arizona Cardinals an offensive lineman here to protect their quarterback and Kyler Murray. I'm going to give them Ernest Green out of Georgia. Offensive tackle. They need help on the offensive line. Give me Ernest Green. I know it says 92nd, but I feel like he's going to boost his draft stock up in his pro day and in the Shrine Bowl or the Senior Bowl. The Seahawks at number 50. I gave them a defensive lineman in the first round. I'm not going to go offensive lineman. I'm going to go Anthony Belton out of North Carolina State. And I think Anthony Belton, other than Abe Lucas and Charles Cross, they need an offensive line. And I think Anthony Belton is the pick here. Tampa Bay at 51. I gave them Benjamin Morrison in the first round. I am now going to give them they don't need running back. I'm not going to give them an edge rusher. I'm going to give them Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State. Jack Sawyer, I've watched a lot of tape and I've watched every single Ohio State game this year. As you know, I'm a diehard Ohio State fan. And speaking of that, Saturday night at 8 o'clock on YouTube, we will have a watch party for the Ohio State Tennessee first round playoff game at 8 o'clock. But back to this video. But Jack Sawyer just feels like the Buccaneers going to need somebody to replace probably Joe Tryon-Shoyinka because he's more of a linebacker than he is an edge. And I think Jack Sawyer fits what the Buccaneers are looking for, rushing the passer. Carolina at number 52. I am going to give them wide receiver Evan Stewart because they need to get Bryce Young more weapons. And I think Evan Stewart, you've got Xavier Legette, you've got Jalen Coker. Adam Thielen's probably gone after the season. And unless they sign a free agent wide receiver, I think they go after a receiver in the draft, and it's going to be Evan Stewart in the second round. Chargers, I gave them Harold Fannin Jr. tight end in the first round. I'm now going to give them an Ohio State guy. So their first two picks are guys from the state of Ohio that went to college there. I'm going to give them JT Tuimoloau out of Ohio State. Edge. They need help. They need to get younger on the edge. You've got Joey Bosa. You've got a couple other guys, but Joey Bosa, I don't know if he's going to still be there after this year because he might get traded. So give me JT Tuimoloau to the Chargers. Broncos at number 54. I am going to give them another offensive lineman. Yes, shocker. They don't get a wide receiver in the first two rounds. I'm going to give them offensive tackle, interior offensive lineman, Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. They need to reload their offensive line, and I think Donovan Jackson does that. Ravens at 55. You've got two options here. You've got, because I'm going to give them a defensive lineman. I think they're going to address wide receiver and offensive tackle in the free agency. So you've got Shamar Turner or TJ Sanders for the defensive line. And you've got tight end. I mean, you've got Isaiah Likely. And you've got Mark Andrews. But Mark Andrews is getting up there in age a little bit. I mean, Colston Loveland, Sonneborn, Tyler Warren, which they should not have made it this far, but they have. I am going to give them TJ Sanders out of South Carolina. He just feels like a Zach Orr defensive lineman for me, which that is the defensive coordinator in Baltimore. So give me TJ Sanders at 55 to the Ravens. The Commanders I'm going to have them take a tight end here. They took Isaiah Bond. I think they addressed the offensive line in free agency. And Tyler Warren has fallen way too far. So give me Tyler Warren at 56 to the Commanders. The Texans at 57. I am not going to have them go. I'm going to have them go edge rusher Princely. No. I'm going to have them go edge rusher LT Overton out of Alabama. Pair him up again. Reunite him with old teammate Will Anderson. Both Alabama guys. And I think this is a kind of edge rusher that, what's his name? DeMeco Ryans wants. And so LT Overton at 57, the Packers at 58. Jeff Hafley is the defense coordinator for the Packers. And I think this is the perfect place for them to take. I have them going double defensive players in the first 2 rounds. And Donovan Azarique is the pick here for the Packers. It's simple. Hafley was his coach at Boston College. He did really good. Hafley leaves. He does okay with Bill O'Brien. Hafley's the defense coordinator in Green Bay. Who does he want? Who does he tell the GM to take? Donovan Azarique out of Boston College. The Steelers at 59. They took cornerback Will Johnson in the first round. And I don't really see any. Oh, yes, I do, actually. Never mind. I know he's lower ranked. I could see the Steelers taking wide receiver Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State here. They need another wide receiver. George Pickens can't do it all by himself. And Calvin Austin's a slot receiver and kick returner. So give me Jaden Higgins at number 59 to the Steelers. The Bills at number 61. They took wide receiver Elick Eilmanner in the first round. And I'm going to have them take Kevin Winston Jr. out of Penn State, who just declared for the draft the other day. He just feels like a Sean McDermott, a safety that would fit right in on the defense for the Bills. And then their last pick, I'm going to have them take edge Princely Umani-Allen out of Ole Miss at 61. He's a developmental defensive lineman that I feel like just fits with the Bills because they do need help on the defensive line and edge. The Eagles at 62, I had to take Michael Williams in the first round, which A+. I'm going to have them take an offensive lineman here. I'm going to have them take so you go defensive lineman. I'm going to have them take Shamar Turner out of Texas A&M. I had them take an edge in the first round. Like I said, Brandon Graham's going to retire. And I think Fletcher Cox might have already retired if he hasn't already. So give me Shamar Turner to the Eagles. The Lions at number 63. Jordan Birch is on the clock. On the board here. Do they go Jordan Birch? Or do they go with a wide receiver? No. I'm not having them go receiver. I'm not having them go tight end. I'm actually going to go off the board here. I'm going to have them take Darian Porter out of Iowa State. They need help. Corner is one of their top needs. And I think Darian Porter is the perfect pick for the Lions. The Chiefs are going to take defensive lineman Jordan, and it pains me to give him Jordan Birch here, but I think they're going to go Jordan Birch out of Oregon. They need help on the defensive line. Karlaftis is okay, but you don't really have anybody else that can blitz. And again, if you didn't hear earlier on, Saturday night, I will be doing a watch party for the Ohio State Tennessee first round college football playoff game starting at 8 p.m. on YouTube. But that'll wrap up today's video. I will see everybody tomorrow at noon for another video, and it'll be on college football this time. It'll be on the transfer portal again, tight ends and running backs. But have a wonderful rest of your Monday.